I was self. And we have
computer.
live! Wait a second, hang on. Hello, computer. Welcome to the Crafty Boys. Thank you. Everybody sit down. Shut up. Let's drink some beer. Welcome to the Crafty Boys. We talk about crap and drink beer. There you go. That's the show. There's only a couple of us today. Don't know where everyone else is. They said they were coming, but they're not. So, whatever. We'll just drink beer, and eventually people might show up. So, yeah.
It's a party. It's show up when you want.
Yeah, exactly. BYO, whatever.
So Locke is fashionably late. That's okay. We love him.
Last week he was driving through Manitoba, so there's that. Which was a bit weird, because he called again last week and said, "Hey, I'm going to be there," and I'm like, "Awesome!" And then we call him, and then he's like driving between town X to town Y. So this week, Alan actually has a beer. I was going to get a beer, but I couldn't get away, and so I'm going to drink something I think I drank on the show a few weeks ago. But that's okay. It's all right. Alan, tell us what your beer is.
All right. So I got something here. I've actually been seeing this for a while, and I've been wanting to try, and it's still widely available, even though I don't think it's a regular run beer. But anyway, it is from Lighthouse Brewing in Victoria. It is their Raspberry Lime Pilsner. Label is done in the style of Grand Theft Auto. I don't know. It just looks kind of cool. It comes in, it's available in these 473 ml tall cans, clocks in at 5% alcohol by volume. I don't think there's really all that much to say about it. It's a Pilsner with raspberry and lime essence.
I'm going to say that I like the choice of artwork. I mean, that to me is I've been, I think for 23 years.
No experience playing Grand Theft Auto. So I don't
know. This is the thing. I like, for example, I think it was 2001 when Grand Theft Auto Vice City came out. Mm-hmm. Let me actually see, because Vice City was sort of the big explosion of that sort of open world feeling for that particular game. Says it was 2002, so there we go. Oh no, wait. Yeah, no, it was 2002. So I remember one of my cousins with that game, and that was when that artwork was first introduced to my psyche, and I'm very glad. That head is amazing.
It is, and this is a good pour. Like I took great care in pouring this.
What's the aromatic experience so far?
Tastes like I smell raspberry, to be honest.
Okay.
Now the head is disappearing quickly, extremely effervescent. I don't think you can see it on camera, but there is like massive amounts of bubbles floating up to the top. Before I comment, let's have another swig.
That sounds like a good. Wow, really?
So, when you make a package of Kool-Aid, and it's like, your mom is trying to pinch pennies a little bit. There's a bunch of kids in the house. She's only got one pouch left, so she pours that into the jug, and it says to put in so many milliliters of water into it, but she needs more than that, so she's going to double the amount of water that she puts into it, and what's left is watered-down Kool-Aid.
Oh, wow.
That's what it tastes like, watered-down raspberry Kool-Aid.
So raspberry lime Pilsner from Lighthouse Brewing.
That
is amazing. I'm going to go to the liquor store. I'll be right back.
Yeah, the raspberry is overpowering. There isn't really much of I don't really detect the lime. And I certainly wouldn't know that it's a Pilsner unless I read it on the label.
I mean, with that coloration, it definitely looks like a kind of like a Radler territory almost.
Yeah, and you know what? It's really gassy too. A little bit too much.
A
And
little
I
too
guess
much
that's to be
effervescence.
expected from a fruit beer. I mean, the sugars in the fruit in the fermentation process, they can be volatile. So I kind of expect that,
Okay.
or you have to expect that. But at the same time, if they're going for some sort of flavored pilsner, I think they missed the mark here.
Well, at least you were wanting to pause for a second quaff at the beginning there. So,
Having said that, I'm going to finish it. I'm not going to dump it.
okay.
It's not that bad.
That's
But would I get this again? No.
Locke, welcome to the show. What beer are you experiencing on this Friday night?
Hello. So I am experiencing Get It In Yeah version 2.0. Oh yeah, hazy double IPA by Sawdust City.
Get it in ya.
Yeah, and it is a 100% Aussie hopped banger, they call it. And yeah, banger is a way of describing it. It's I don't know if you can get. Do you see how bright that is? But hazy at the same time. Like this is.
It almost looks like a glass of milk.
Yeah, it's not. It's resinier than milk would be. It's sort of like somebody took bow rosin from a violin and turned it into a beverage.
Okay.
All right.
It's really, really resiny. Like you could use it to
Strip paint?
I don't know about strip paint, but yeah, like you use it to create friction, not like it's got a very like it's sort of it looks like some sort of epoxy.
Okay.
It kind of does, actually. Like, I don't want to say anything, but it kind of looks like it's a bit unsafe for consumption. You know what I'm saying?
It's good though. It's like it's an interesting drink. It's not for the faint of heart. Powerful sort of the upper end of grapefruit and maybe sort of a cedar more than pine.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't eat a lot of cedar, so
yeah. Well,
cedar's not high on my list of things to eat, but you know, I hear it's good for you.
maybe one of these days I'll make myself a cedar sandwich and have that.
Well, okay, but you know, you've had you'll have maybe done a cedar plank salmon at some point, if you know what I mean.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. All right. Fair enough. So yes.
Yes. I like it.
Yep.
It's certainly interesting. I think probably I'm going to arrive at good as well. Not quaffable. It doesn't tick that box. This is a sipping drink, I'd say.
Okay.
But as a double IPA, that's sort of what you'd want.
Oh yeah. What's the alcohol content on that as a double IPA?
This is an 8.5, I think.
I don't remember the last time I drank an 8.5.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's an 8.5. Realistically, this is definitely on the other side of my dry July. But to also be clear, this is not one that I would be having just finished my dry July doing a whole bunch of these in a sitting. It's not sessionable in any respect.
No. Now, so here's a question. I think I've already know the answer to it, but say like Blue Bridge from Spinnakers here.
Yeah, that's a whole,
which is roughly about 8.5%, is highly quaffable. It isn't sessionable, but feels like it could be
dangerous.
Yeah, it's dangerous. That one isn't equally.
No, this is a very different experience. This is something that its bark is definitely all the way up there with its bite.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
What is that beer called again?
This is called Get It In Ya 2.0.
Get It In Ya.
I tried that as a pickup line one time.
Did it work?
Get it in ya.
Wow, that's
being as it's an Aussie hopped beer, it's Get It In Ya.
Yeah.
Genius. There you go. Well, at least your beers are respectable. Because I was not able to escape to head to the liquor store today, I am again drinking, which is from a few weeks ago, the beer Street Legal, de-alcoholized beer, rock it in at a 0.5%.
Actually, I don't think we've had this one on the show before.
Have I not? I thought I had this one.
You did a Phillips one.
Oh, right. I did the Nonetheless from Phillips. So this IPA is from, I forgot exactly who makes this. Central City. So it's a well-known brewery that we've had on the show many, many times. Mm-hmm. And this is actually not a terrible beer. By the way, this house here is full of sadness right now because the Saskatchewan Rough Riders are getting pummeled right now. Hey, Peanut Gallery, how's the game? Oh, the final 41-12. Well, at least they got one more thing. One more thing. A touchdown. But this one is okay. I mean, the problem I have with de-alcoholized beer, of course, is that a lot of the flavor profile gets sucked out of it. So they, for this particular one being a hop, being a hype, oh my God. What's in this? Being an IPA, there's a lot of hop in it, but the bittering hops come through a lot stronger than any of the sort of flavorful ones. So overall, for a de-alcoholized beer, it's not terrible.
How does it rank?
It has a decent head, has a decent color. Sorry.
How does it rank against the other ones that you've had, like say from Phillips or whoever else?
Well, a bulk of the non-alcoholic beers tend to be ales of some flavor. IPAs, not so much. There's been, I think, two. What is the other one that we've had recently? I cannot remember, but it was from the Strange Fellows ones were not IPAs. The ones from I'm struggling with that brewery name. R&B. That had an IPA de-alcoholized one. That was actually not too bad either. But they all have the same common problem, is that because they've been through like a reverse osmosis or whatever that process is to actually remove the beer. And of course, being a lower alcohol content, most commercial beer is pasteurized anyway. But the de-alcoholized ones really have to be because otherwise they don't have a long shelf life. Put it that way. Because they are essentially because the alcohol is so low. It probably lasts about. I was told something like a week to 3, 4 weeks, because the alcohol is not able to,
act as a preservative.
Exactly. So there you go. Our personal Yoda, Julian, is in town. He arrived yesterday for his birthday, and we celebrated a little bit at Red Truck. So I did, of course, have a couple of flights of the various different beers from Red Truck Brewing. So it's not like I'm not drinking alcohol. Just trying to.
You're keeping it
in mellow.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
so there you go.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
Now, what anything new or notable in the flights that you had?
There is a new Pilsner that I cannot remember the name to. It was quite good. We had a couple of them, but it's so new. It's not even on the signage. It's just like, oh yes, we've got this. Here, have that. So I can't remember what it was called, but apparently it is going to be a regular brew for a while. So I really am hoping they bring back, and they never will, but I really hope they bring back the IPA that I really liked, which was called not Get It In Ya. Wicked Smut. Thank you. That I long for. I don't know how, so often, but yeah, what can you do?
You live across the street from them. I'm sure you could make a request.
We have, and they actually said they probably wouldn't do it again because it was quite difficult to make, and it's also the scheduling to make that brew was so incredibly, do it after 4 hours. You got to add blah after this. I think it probably got prohibitively expensive too, because it had a lot of different hops in it, and which reminds me, speaking of hops, somebody that I met at his party yesterday is currently the first employee, from what I understand, in Canada from a hops company out of the UK, Ireland, I'm pretty sure. And they are taking Canada by storm because their product has not really been in Canada that readily. So they're trying to break into the North American market. They're starting with Canada, and they're just kind of doing that. So something that I thought would be cool is to actually use some of that commercial grade stuff. They, of course, do all kinds of things, which I thought was neat. But I learned from this individual that the Backcountry Brewing Company is very proud of their beer process, because apparently, you know how the Backcountry, they always have those pop culture references. We had an Indiana Jones recently. Something I had not even considered. They make those for very short runs because they get constantly sued. Because the film companies and whatnot are like, no, you can't make something that's obviously identifiable to the properties that we own. So they make these very short runs. They get a cease and desist letter, and they're like, we're done anyway. We moved on to 3 other beers, so up yours. So I kind of thought that was cute. I kind of enjoy that, and that's the kind of brewing company I would want to run. Like, have something awesome. That here's another cease and desist. Put that in a frame. Hang it in the tasting room. Like, that would be kind of awesome.
I never even considered that, but yeah, that totally makes sense.
I never thought of it too, but apparently this is happening in the background for that particular company.
There a brewery? I can't remember where it was. Maybe in Manitoba, where all their beers were Star Trek theme. They were at Beer Fest a few years ago.
Yeah, they were called like the Federation of something. Sorry?
Yeah, I kind of wonder, but their beers were like regular run, like I wonder.
Well, they had a license though. That actually, because they actually had a sign on their brewing thing at Beer Fest that actually said, because they make what is the actually? Let me. I got it upset. It's been too long. So they have a license from, I guess, Paramount. Federation of Beer, that's what they're called. And so they so I'll just bring this up on screen. This is kind of amusing. I've never been to this website before. Here we go. There we go. So yeah, so the Federation of Beer definitely was something that Star Trek Engage, really cool. Galaxy Class Ale. That's kind of cool.
Can you bring up their website on the screen?
So, sorry, I thought I had. Wow, I know how to do a live stream. So here we go. Star Trek Engage, Galaxy Class Ale. I'm going to enter the fray here. So basically, so these guys have a license from, I guess, Paramount. Captain's Lager, the Engage one, and Enterprise Blonde Ale. Now, they've had the Klingon beer, I've forgotten what it was called. But essentially it was a Klingon blood ale, something or other.
They probably would have called it like blood wine.
Something like that. I
they
can't
should also
remember,
make a coffee one that's called like Ractigino.
That would actually be kind of
And they may need to make a blue one that's called Romulan.
So how to make contact first? Wow, this website needs a little help. Sure, thanks. I'd like to go to Canada. This opened up a bloody new tab, you bastards. Well, there you go. So a bunch of lame stuff. Borg Ale. Okay. Borg Ale, not too bad. I'm trying to find some reference to the Klingon beer they had. I guess they don't. It seems to be gone.
Well, they probably.
Here it is. The Warnog. That's what it was called.
Oh, yes.
So there we go. So that's what the beer was called. It looks like they're not making it anymore. But yeah, I mean, these guys, they went out, got a license proper, and were able to make their own beer, without any I would imagine there's probably not too much oversight from their parent company.
Well, I kind of wonder how much they would have to pay to Paramount or whoever they're licensing it from. For the
My suspicion is that if they were probably a yearly fee, I would imagine, but I don't think it would be small either.
It would not be small, and I wonder if it's I mean, it must be because they're still around, but I mean, I can't imagine that would make good.
I think that's down to who are the personalities involved and what's happening, because now I'm sure that it's a much more mature industry today in terms of how people do their product placement and branding tie-ins and all of that stuff. But I think there are always going to be some companies that are a little bit more, let's take a chance on that. And some companies that are very conservative about, no, you do not touch our intellectual property.
But I mean, it would be one thing if this brewery was selling their stuff nationally, where you could you got a big, huge piece of the pie of the market. But I mean, they're selling like regionally. I can't imagine that the profits, even if they're like completely.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. In different organizations, it might be a different department that you're talking to get that permission. Like Star Trek, they might have a fan outreach department that are all like, whenever we see fans
Funny
doing
you
stuff,
say that.
A brand, right?
So here is the fan film license that is on their website. Basically, productions must be less than 15 minutes for a single self-contained story, no more than 2 segments, episodes or parts. Do not exceed 30 minutes in total, with no additional seasons, episodes, parts, sequels, or remakes. And I know exactly why that clause is in there, because for a while, there was this explosion, I would say probably mid-2000s, where sorry, mid-90s, what am I saying? Where they had a whole bunch of Star Trek and Star Wars had this problem as well, because cameras were far more accessible. They doing special effects was not that hard in comparison to 20 years before. So they had a lot of these issues where these films were being made at a really high pace, and they had this issue where the shows were suddenly becoming multi-episode, like entire seasons being produced in somebody's basement, and that kind of stuff. So these kinds of things are definitely, interesting. How they're basically saying, yes, you can do this, but here are some rules about it. And they also have fan website rules as well. So if you want to have rules around that, you can do that. So, but yeah, I mean, a lot of these things are kind of fascinating in how they get licensed. I'm just see if we can find the actual pricing for licensing.
It's a different model to say we want everybody doing our thing, even if they're not paying us for it, because they're doing our thing, spreads our thing, and that's our thing, and we want it to spread. And hey, that's our thing. Only people who have paid us get to enjoy our thing, right? And I can see there are reasons that both of those might, like if you're Thomson Reuters and you're offering highly specialized legal information, that might be a target audience that only the select get that stuff, right? But you got to figure out what is our IP, what is it at its most valuable? Is it at its most valuable sitting there behind lock and key, or is it at its most value in everybody else's mouths?
It does look like that Paramount specifically has made licensing with print-on-demand organizations as well. Okay, so here's how we do it. If we were to make a beer tomorrow and we wanted to make an official license with Paramount, Paramount Consumer Products and Experiences, formerly known as the CBS Consumer Products Inc., until 2020, is the merchandising unit of Paramount Global, which manages all licenses of products stemming from various motion pictures, productions, and whatnot, owned by CBS Corporation and Viacom. So if I go here and wow, totally want to do this. Paramount Global. Keep talking, boys. I'm just trying to find the actual website for these.
So, Alan,
yeah.
What was the last beer that you had that was branded with something in the way of a known entertainment franchise?
Well, I don't know if this qualifies, but the last beer that I had it was actually fairly recent, where I did have Trooper.
Oh, there we go. Yep.
Which of course is licensed by Iron Maiden. rock band. Honestly, I wasn't all that impressed with it.
Okay. What something you were expecting or not?
You know what it tasted like?
What?
If you make like one of those homemade beer kits, like not necessarily Cooper's but like there's other ones called like Mr. Beer and stuff, and it uses a lot of like corn sugar and stuff in it. And you get kind of like a cidery kind of flavor with like no mouthfeel. That's what it was like. It just had like to me it had a cheapness to it.
Okay. I don't know. I've never encountered that exactly. Maybe you had an older tin, but
it's you know what? I did buy it at one point to do it here on the show, and I was waiting for Shane to get his hands on it. He never did. So I ended up having it on my own. I did hold on to it for maybe 3 months. So it's possible. It's possible.
Look, the beer that I'm familiar with as Trooper, I would describe it as being sort of a reasonably quaffable best bitter.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been just one that I got that, for whatever reason, didn't measure up.
Could have been.
Yeah. But yeah, it wasn't the greatest. But I mean, I'd try it again. I'd give it a second shot.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing to recognize is, they've gone past the point where they were, highly clued into their product development, because the rollout happened some time ago. So it could be that quality's dropped. One of the things I've noticed, they've added a bunch of other beers to their list. They've got a Fear of the Dark Stout, and they've got a Sun and Steel lager, and I've tried those, and I thought they were unremarkable generally, but I do like Robinson's beers, in other categories as well. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I hope it hasn't dropped off entirely, because I quite enjoyed that one at one point.
Right. Before that, the only other one that's coming to mind was from Fuggles and Warlock, which doesn't exist anymore. It's now just Fuggles. And it was called the Bean Me Up Espresso Stout, not bean, bean. That was really good. That was really
that
tasty.
was a fantastic.
They don't make it anymore. Since they rebranded, they've changed a lot of their beers and stuff, and they don't make the Bean Me Up anymore. So, which is unfortunate, but that's the way it goes. What about you, Locke? When's the last time you had some sort of quasi-licensed kind of beer?
Trying to think now. I have a feeling like it was during COVID, and I think it was some sort of Game of Thrones tie-in. And I thought, okay, let's give it a shot. It was for whatever reason, I think it was on sale or something. I don't know. I can't remember what it was that possessed me to think that I would try this thing, but I did. And yeah, and it was, yeah.
So if we were going to make a licensed beer, us three, if we're going to open our brewery one day that we keep talking about, that's probably never, ever going to happen. And we're going to release a beer that was based off of a licensed property. What do you guys think?
What would I...
I think I would want it to be... I would want it to be fantasy gaming related. So I'm thinking something along the lines of, like a Warhammer 40K, or maybe like a Steve Jackson Games kind of tie-in. You know what I mean?
Right.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
I'm curious if those kinds of books would sell these days.
I think the answer is that maybe somebody's trying it. Did you notice that the Endless Quest books are reformulated and back on the market?
Are they really? By the way,
Yes,
hello, Dickies.
along with a bunch of classic D&D modules that have been redone for the new rules.
Okay.
Hardcover. So interestingly, they've gone for a very hands-on kind of a. This is an item you will enjoy playing with. There's hand feel aspects to it. It's not just like, you could just print the thing as a soft cover, but it's hardcover, and when you open up it, it's sort of like it's kind of like a magic tome, if you see what I mean, right?
Right.
That kind of thing. So I think there's something to that. I think that's something that is coming back. I think the more the world goes digital, the more people realize what a pain in the ass that is, and so the opportunity to do something. If you've got discretionary time and you want to do something fun, you want it to actually be fun, and taking a break from the device is maybe something that feels that way.
And so you believe that a beer that's themed around that would do very well?
I feel like that, yeah.
Here's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Some sort of a stout infused with Baby Ruth chocolate bars that is marketed around Sloth and Chunk from
All right.
Goonies. Yeah.
That's
what I think.
Complicated, but cleverer idea than I had.
Yeah, we could call it like Sloth Love Chunk or something.
Yeah.
Baby Ruth Porter or whatever. I think that.
Well, I mean, that's not a bad idea, actually.
Or a Reese's Pieces inspired one. E.T. Phone Brewery.
I told you about Slayer Burger in Toronto. I still don't know whether that's a properly.
Sorry, back up. What?
Slayer Burger. Like
Slayer
Burger. Yeah.
Like
in
a
Toronto.
burger joint?
It's a burger joint, yeah. And the branding is also it's Slayer, but with a heavy dose of Dio and Stranger Things. A lot of Stranger Things sort of references.
Why am I not there right now?
Yeah, exactly. We have been wasting our lives.
How would you like your burger done? I want it raining blood.
Yes. Yeah.
Totally worth. Wow. I gotta say, now my life is completely it's complete. It is sad that.
All right, Shane. What kind of a beer would you make that's based around a licensed property? If you were going to, if you had unlimited funding, what would you make?
Well, the first one I would make would be called the Light Saber. It would be a beer that would come in a variety of colors, raspberry, maybe, as a red and maybe a green one and then maybe a blue one. But it would have to be a light beer just because of the name. So that's a sad part about it, or maybe even a Radler-ish kind of idea. But, then there's also, I would probably do a lot. I would probably do what most people would do, like pick their property and just milk it for all it's worth. So, I'd be at Disney's teat, just being like, blue milk beer, Boom. There would be a beer, Bantha Poodoo, something like that. That would be like a chocolate beer or something. There'd be some extremes, is all I'm saying. That there would be some, you'd have like, there would be like the blood of, I don't know, the blood of Greedo or something. That would be like an IPA, or then you'd have something like Luke's severed hand, Radler or something. I don't know, whatever it might be. But I would milk that sucker so hard, Disney would love me because people would buy it. Like there is no way that would fail. If somebody was just to say, let's make a beer. No. We're not going to make a beer. We're going to make a bunch of them. They're going to be good, but they're going to have the most ridiculous names ever. I hate you. Smoky, I don't know, something. Like a smoky lava beer or something, where you've got like a picture of a burning Darth Vader on the side of a thing or whatever that.
And every year
Mustafar.
we have a fundraiser.
Mustafar barbecue. There you go.
And every year we have to have a fundraiser where we raise money for Love Day.
That's right. Life Day has got to be a thing.
Life Day, sorry.
You've got to have, the Love Day is kind of nice too.
Love Day is from The Simpsons. Okay.
Right, of course. Yeah. I mean, there are definitely going to be some, digging into that lore. I mean, this is the thing. The backcountry is nailing it pretty good, right? Sorry?
Did you know that it's Love Day? That'd be a good line.
That's what The Simpsons actually.
It's Love Day?
Like all the greeting card companies and manufacturers and stuff, they're getting together. It's like, our sales are flagging. We need to come up with a new holiday. So they think of Love Day.
And there's a song that goes along with it too. I mean, there's all kinds of things that
Speaking of licensed beers that you could make. How about Duff?
Didn't they do that? Didn't somebody make Duff beer? I remember. I'm not sure when this was, but it's in the last like 10 years, at least I feel like it. But they actually had in Vancouver, they had a Quickie Mart. And they actually had a Quickie Mart, and then some of the products in the Quickie Mart were like Simpsons themed, and one of them was Duff beer.
I did use my wife gave me one time for Christmas a can with an energy drink inside, but it had a Duff beer label on it. So that was an energy drink. But I mean like an actual beer that's labeled after Duff. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to find it here. There was one in Vancouver, but I'm sure that there were others.
Oh, wait a
minute.
WWF beers.
Oh yeah.
Classic.
Well, the first one would be oh yeah.
Yeah.
Not the smashing through wall one, but yeah. There's going to be a lot.
Lager.
Macho Man Lager. You have to do it. The Piper's Pale Ale.
Speaking of the Macho Man, I saw this online this week, and I had absolutely no idea. I don't know if it's real or not, but apparently the Macho Man's real name was Randy Poffo. He was actually, when he was younger, he was drafted by the Cincinnati Reds MLB team. And he actually had like a baseball card and everything with his name, Randy Poffo. And he looked completely different.
I would guess so.
Randy Mario Poffo. Baseball career was signed by the St. Louis Cardinals as a catcher out of high school. Wow, he was
and
placed
the
to the
baseball card
minors.
alluded to the fact that he was into bodybuilding. I guess he could make more money at the time doing wrestling than he could in professional baseball.
I'm going to see if I can find his baseball card.
Professional baseball players back in the late 70s, early 80s weren't making the kind of money that they are now.
Oh my goodness!
Hmm?
Show us. What are you looking at?
I'm trying to find a real card because there have been some fan ones.
In the picture I saw, you could tell that it was Randy Savage, but you really had to look at it hard to see where the
Imagine the sunglasses and the hair.
Well, no, I mean it was him, but I mean he wasn't tanned or anything. He didn't have the muscles like he had in WWF or WWE, whatever.
Okay, so here we go. There we are. So here you go. So this is the outfield. So this is Randy Poffo.
Now the one that I saw was actually in color. Here is another one. So the first one I just showed you was apparently 1974 Cincinnati Reds. This one is 1972 Gulf Coast Cardinals.
That's looking much more like the Randy Savage we met later.
Yeah. So he went through some changes over the previous.
Yes. Well, we have a mustache and we have long hair, which now if we had sunglasses, then we'd have more or less the look.
Can you imagine if he had followed through with his Major League Baseball career and he's being like interviewed after the games? So what happened in that game? Oh yeah, we didn't pitch well, we didn't hit well, but the cream rises to the top.
Has improved his swing by dropping his elbow, is looking to increase his power by adding more weightlifting to his workouts. Naturally a righty, Randy had to learn to throw southpaw after an injury. So, Cardinals, the Redbirds, the Orangeburg, and Tampa.
Which are all
But I mean, we're talking... Exactly, and basically this was him right out of high school. Like, he's really young here.
Oh yeah.
So he's probably, we're seeing him from 18 to 23-ish.
I would say.
So actually, what year is this card? This must be him. This must be 74. Oh no! Wait. This is him on the Cardinals. So 71, 72.
So this could be 75.
And you can see there down at the bottom that Randy's father is a professional wrestler. So, wow, I had no idea.
I didn't either. This
wouldn't have guessed that at all.
Out of left field, I had no idea.
Oh, and here we go. So somebody's actually put together a quick comparison of what we see versus back then. Well, doing his wrestling.
Yeah.
Holy hell. That is kind of awesome. I would never have guessed. That's kind of a neat little trivia point of I mean, there's probably a lot of that kind of stuff, of course, with a lot of the different wrestlers because I remember reading about the Junkyard Dog because at the time, back in the day, he was one of my favorites just because of his name. He just was, like any other wrestler, he was pretty cool. I remember watching him on the TV in my parents' basement for years. Then I read about him a little while back, and he, oh geez, raspberry lime pilsner. Seriously, yeah, that's Alan's fault. That guy did it.
I didn't. Life Brewing did it.
The tin looks a lot more impressive than your description of the flavor, but
And it is. The tin is much more impressive than the actual product inside.
yes.
All right, back to Junkyard Dog.
Oh, I was just I read it. He just had a very bizarre career and or like any wrestler, and then drove into a tree and died. Sadly, he
Really?
he went to his. If I remember correctly, he was at his daughter's wedding. No, high school. One of his daughter's high school graduations, and he fell asleep at the wheel and drove into a tree. So. Which is unfortunate. I mean, granted, a lot of those wrestlers of that time die reasonably early as well because of, their hearts just give out because of all the, yeah, exactly. Because back then it was like a thing, take your roids, don't work out hard. But unfortunately, you can tell just by, if you go through any of those, there are so few that have made it to, old age. Like the Iron Sheik, whose name escapes me, but he just died recently, and he was in his 80s. So he was one of the ones that probably didn't do the whole roid thing. But
I've actually been recently watching interviews with Jesse the Body Ventura on YouTube, and he's asked a lot about the roids and stuff, and he says yes, there was a lot of that. Not only that, but hard drugs going on.
Oh yeah.
But he says that he never really participated in all that. He was kind of in an interesting situation where he didn't have to actually perform. He got out of the ring to become an announcer, and part of the reason was to avoid all of that.
And power to him, because that definitely would have changed. It's changed his future. I ain't got time to do roids. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is probably about 3, 4, or 5 years ago where I went down that rabbit hole of looking up all the different wrestlers that I remembered as a child, and was that's where I was kind of shocked that wow, like most of these guys are dead already.
They're dead,
and they died in their mid-40s.
They live really sad lives.
Well, yeah, I mean that too. I mean, there's that whole documentary about Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah.
Where, he's basically living in a house that he owned on the side of a highway in Texas in the middle of nowhere. He could barely walk. He could barely lift his arms. Like, he was messed up. And but he was like a raging alcoholic still. Like, there's all these issues that he was going through.
And these guys don't have money.
Exactly. And that's the big problem, is that they, literally killed themselves working for the WWF and / WWE or whatever it's called now.
Always,
because they were always on the road. They were always off doing other things. They were not at home. They were being wined and dined essentially, but at the end of the day, they got paid really, really low wage.
Unless you were Hulk Hogan or somebody like that. But.
Well, exactly. Unless you basically had the persona, the character. If you became really popular, then you would have negotiating power to say, well, Jake the Snake ain't gonna do that or whatever. So yeah, he was totally screwed up. And the whole documentary, if you haven't seen it, I've forgotten the name of it, but essentially, he. Who's the wrestler who was like the yoga master guy? I've forgotten exactly. There was another wrestler who had another name that I cannot remember because I think he came later on, like after I stopped watching. But he got out of wrestling, and basically in his own home decided, you know what, I need to rehab these athletes who have been messed up by the whole world of that wrestling area. So there was Jake the Snake. They had a GoFundMe to get Jake the Snake Roberts like shoulder surgery or something. The guy that played the slickster with the toothpick, what was that character's name? Do you remember? I want to say Rico Suave, but that wasn't it. But it was like something like that. But he was always that kind of smarmy, long greased hair, toothpick in his mouth all the time.
You're not talking about Bret Hart.
Sorry? No, not Bret Hart. No. He looked like Bret Hart, but he was like the Puerto Rican, Mexican.
Yeah,
I forgot exactly where he was supposed to hail from. But they found him too. He was in a wheelchair. Like this guy that had all this gravitas and this, I'm a ladies' man and blah, 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 and I'm exotic and, I'm sexy and I got the, the thick sort of Latin sort of accent.
I know the guy.
But yeah, I can't remember his name. I could see him in my mind's eye. I just can't think of what the character was called. Anyway, but yeah, they found him. He was like in a wheelchair and he was like addicted to painkillers because during his wrestling career, he got hurt, and as age, crept up, he suddenly was not able to function, and he was like an addict because he was in a lot of pain. So the same sort of thing. They got whatever this wrestler's guy brought him in, and they rehabbed him, and they made him, do. I think they did some GoFundMe's for surgeries for him. You were saying, sorry.
As scripted as professional wrestling is, and nobody denies that, the stunts that they do are real.
Oh yeah.
When somebody pulls out a folding chair and hits you over the head with it, you're getting hit over the head with a folding chair. Yeah. It's not a trick chair. It's not made out of foam or anything like that. Yeah. You're getting hit over the head with a metal fucking chair. The one thing that really, because this happened on live national television, and I don't think anybody realized it at the time. It was during Saturday night's main event, and it was Hulk Hogan against the King Harley Race, and it was the last match that Harley Race would ever do, because Hulk had put out Harley Race on a folding table outside of the ring and went up onto the top rope to land on him and break the table. The table did break, and Harley Race ended up getting a lacerated, I want to say spleen because of it. He ended up with like an internal injury from it, and he never wrestled again after that. Like I seem to remember them cutting to commercial. Like they didn't play up on it. I found out maybe weeks later from some of my friends that that's what happened, that he got injured in that match, and he never wrestled again. It was interesting.
And well, a lot of that kind of stuff, like, yeah, here you go. So basically, he was required to bow to race, blah, 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 blah. Feuding with Hulk Hogan for that year. His feud with Duggan was highlighted by the brawl. In 1988, he suffered an abdominal injury in a match against Hogan, in which he tried to hit Hogan prone on a table at ringside with a swine dive headbutt. Jesus.
Swan dive.
Race impacted the table. The metal edge forced its way into his abdomen, giving him a hernia. Oh, man. That is just brutal. Yeah, that would suck. Oh my god, that's just painful.
On live television as well.
Yeah, I remember watching like whatever it was called. It was Saturday Night Raw, but it was called something else, and then eventually went to Monday nights. But I remember watching like Fridays and Saturdays, because it was on at like, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night.
Fridays was the Superstars of Wrestling.
That's what it was. Right.
Which all the matches were like the worst part of the whole show, because it was like some superstar against what they call a jobber, like some nobody, and you know who's going to win.
Yeah. That was actually the best part, because you'd see these dudes who would come in, and it's like, you know, somebody who's obviously been at the gym a lot, but, you know, they just got like a single color set of shorts on, and, you know,
They don't even bother announcing him, really. Like, it doesn't have, like, he's already in the ring when they...
Yeah, that's true.
They come back.
I'm coming to the ring, Hacksaw, Jim Duggan, and... who? And then they come out, they'd thump each other for 2 seconds, and then, you know, then suddenly the name star would, you know, pin the person really quickly, and that would be it. But I mean, you know, as scripted and whatnot as it is, it definitely does require some talent. It definitely requires a lot of practice, a lot of rehearsal, because in order to go into the ring and to go up against, say, Hulk Hogan with some jobber who, you know, probably back at the beginning, you know, you still have to know the moves, you still have to know all that kind of stuff, and that's where like the heart, what is it called? Stampede Wrestling, I think, or no, what is that called? So yeah, so you've got those kinds of organizations that are like, okay, well, sure, it's fake, but you know, you're still going to get murdered and break something if you're not trained to do it. So those are the days. And then, of course, you had things like the cartoon. If you remember the cartoons they had for a short period of time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, it was basically like, it was like Hulk Hogan's Heroes or something. And, you know, I think it was on Saturday morning. You know, I think I caught a few episodes. But at the same time, I was kind of getting a bit older, and I was losing interest in watching wrestling. So.
Right.
Although a friend of the show, who's been on the show, Vardy, still goes to WrestleMania and stuff like that. So he is his son that is into it, and he still goes, and he knows the storylines and stuff like that. And because at the end of the day, it's entertainment, and I think that it has value. And I don't know how real the antics are backstage, though, with like, who's the guy that's supposed to run it? Not between the wrestlers. I'm talking about with the management guy. What is his name?
Well, I mean, it was Vince McMahon, but
yeah,
I think he's gone.
But basically, I'm curious as to that kind of story. Like, how real was the Vince McMahon getting on stage and beating up another wrestler or whatever?
He was his own type of cartoon villain, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. But he still ran the place. Some kind of, Yeah, I'm actually going to look to see what Vince McMahon is doing these days. Is he still alive? He's probably still alive.
He's still alive. So he sold the WWE.
Right.
Recently. I remember he resigned. He retired because he was going through that. There was that scandal, sexual harassment scandal.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He resigned, and then suddenly came back about a year later, and some of the executive, including his daughter, resigned when they found out he was coming back. And it looked like he was coming back in order to sell the WWE.
He paid $3 million for it. Wow, jeez, man. By October 20, $19 million. Wow. So this all happened very recently, like this whole retirement thing.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's insane. He always looks like a smarmy guy. But, yeah, that's kind of sad that the WWE is now, sold off. Kind of, it's like an era. Like, we had WWF for how long? That had that lawsuit, long time lawsuit with
you guys are out in BC.
Yeah.
Wasn't there some wrestling tie-in with the Red Scorpion gang?
I'm sorry.
Weren't they
What?
out of Kelowna?
The Red
They were-
Scorpion
I have
gang?
absolutely no idea what that is. You may as well be speaking Greek.
What is the
Yeah,
Red Scorpion?
they were
Canadian.
They were.
I've
They
never
were.
heard of them.
Yeah, no, they were a biker gang that.
They're still around, apparently.
Yeah. I think they had a turf war with the United Nations back when the United Nations were a thing. I'm not sure if they still are. I'm not really. I don't know how up to date I am on what's going on in BC with biker gangs, but the Red Scorpions. I gather there was some wrestling tie-in. Like originally, the one of the brothers that started that gang was into wrestling, and you guys never heard about that. Okay, all right, never mind.
No, I totally did not. Wow, they sound like a bunch of very nice people. I'm just reading
I
one
don't
of
want to
the
wake
big
up at 3
things.
in the morning to some guy standing over me with an axe or something.
I would like to talk to you about your Crafty Boys podcast.
Hmm.
We would like
Nobody
to fund
watches.
your podcast. We would like to sponsor. And as a matter of fact, we are going to sponsor it. We're going to give you and your two cohorts a lot of money. And here's the script you will be reading each and every episode that you will now be doing daily. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. 3 bags full, sir. Oh, my Lord. Well, we've been streaming for our allotted time. It has been a good show today. A lot of decent beer has been consumed. We certainly hope you can find the beer. Don't look for the one I have. Unless you have a London Drugs nearby, you'll be able to buy it to your heart's content. But we'll see you all next week for the next episode. And Locke, I don't know if I told you this, but this is about episode 365, I think. Something like that. I lost track around 150, 200, and so I did the numbers a little bit ago, a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh my god, this is like, I think 2 weeks ago was like episode 364, so I think it's 365 this week. But there you go. That just shows you that we've got almost 400 hours, roughly, of this show. And by the way, that does not include some of the live streams. It does not include the Christmas stuff. It does not include any of the other sort of one-offs that we've done. So there's probably 450 hours or so of this show on the internet forever. So, hey, everyone at home, you're never getting rid of us. So there you go. I just thought you should know. That's a lot of beer, and yeah, there you go. So thank you all for watching, and we will definitely be back next week. And don't forget to tell people about the show. All of the stuff is links and things are down below. And if you like what we do, tell people about it. And if you don't like what we do, Putin will get you. So thank you, everybody. Goodbye.